Well, my water pump stopped working. Can't think of a good reason for it. No clue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the water pump. So before I left Berkeley, I went to REI and I picked up a 5-gallon, one of these inflatable ones that goes kind of flat when it's done with water. I picked up one of these so that I could carry an extra 5 gallons in the van, not thinking that my water pump would break, making it difficult to impossible to use the fresh water under the sink. I am so glad I bought this and that it has a spigot, so all I had to do was throw it up on the counter and use some water, because otherwise I would have been out of luck. So I left Berkeley thinking most of the major projects are done. I'm good. If there's a few little things to do along the way, I'm not going to worry about it. And then just like I said, the water pump broke. So it's one of many things I'm just going to take care of today. First of all, I changed my mind on them and changed my mind back, but these are now black blinds. Now, because they're a little bit of light feeding on them, they look a little bit more beige, but they're actually black. They're a little wider than the original blinds that were in here, but the paper temporary blinds that I need to loosen this up, because basically there's a string here, and the tension on that string defines how, you can't even see it. So basically, there's a string here. And then the tension on this string really makes it harder or easier to pull these blinds up and down. But I replaced this one with a black one, and that has been the best solution of having privacy on this window at night without having a curtain like hanging beside the bed. And the same thing happened in my minivan. I just got sick of the curtains. I wanted something that was as fitted to the window as possible. Now, I like windows. I love windows. But it is a little bit easier when your van has less windows. I mean, I don't envy schooly people. A lot of people end up permanently blocking off a few of their windows when they get a schoolie. And I like my windows. I like when I can open them. I wish actually the other two weren't mostly blocked off by furniture. So I wanted this to work so that I could, when there's something prettier to look at than a parking lot, this is a Home Depot parking lot, I would love to be able to pull up my shades and have that beautiful light coming in. Looks better in real life than it looks on this video. My back windows, I still have those temporary shades up there. You can kind of see it in the corner there. But also I have these now little black pieces of cardboard because those little paper shades got on my nerves really, really fast. They're not like this. This is a nice RV shade. In fact, it came from an RV company. But those are just little paper shades. And what I'm going to do is go back to Reflectix. At first I thought I was done with Reflectix. I was like, okay, we're going to come up with something cooler, something prettier. No. I'm going back to Reflectix. So that's the other project of today, is kind of finishing up these windows. Now this shade right here, I do have two more. So I am going to try, this one's going to be hard, to get this one down, this curtain down that's behind the sink. And the problem is you have to do attachments on the bottom. The bottom on this side isn't too bad because the fridge is here. So and just pull the fridge out and get behind the fridge. But the other corner of the window is behind this countertop somewhere. And so the only real way to get to it would be cutting a hole in the back. Now that might be useful because I need to run the cable for the new water pump. And I don't like where the old one is running. And at this point, I'm like, it's not that big of a deal. It's going to be behind a water jug. So if I put another hole back there, one, so I can access this corner of the window, and two, so that I can put the shade up on this side, that'll be fine. And then as we get over here where the food storage is, this is actually pretty easy. I just need to detach this, empty it out, of course, and detach it. And then I need to pull out the dressers. And so basically I'll just pull out the drawers, then I'll detach this, and then pull it out of the van, and I'll have full access to this window to put up the new shade, and I'll probably never touch that shade again. Dawn of the Past did a horrible job explaining this, so I'm going to take over for a second. The moving blankets, while being effective insulators, when they were strung around the whole van, you lost the effect of there even being windows in the van, and I didn't really like that. They also blocked the windows, so even if I cracked the window, there wasn't really fresh air coming through there at night because it also had a moving blanket in a way. The paper shades brought back the idea that there were windows, which felt more like home to me. And that's what I really liked about having something that was more fitted to the window, is that I knew there were windows, and that felt more like home. It also made it easier to actually get fresh air through the van while still having that blackout effect. But the paper shades were ultimately cheaply made and kind of were already on the verge of falling apart. There's a reason why they were temporary shades, and I wish I had just skipped buying them. So I went ahead and bought the RV shades, which were a little pricey, at least for my pocketbook. But once I put them up, man, did it feel like home. Like, I loved the look of them, and I wanted that look on the other side of the house. Even though at first I thought I didn't really have an issue with the moving blankets behind the kitchen area, the effect of that blind beside my bed felt so much like home. I just wanted the other two windows to match, even if I was never going to touch them or open the window. So let's talk about the two water pumps. You got this guy that I just pulled out that failed for some reason. And then we have this little blue thing that I got from Amazon, which is a drop-in water pump. And the second I saw these, I was kind of thinking how much more I liked sort of the design of this. This is really, really simple. This actually goes down inside the water jug. And then you have your positive and negative, and you just do the same thing you did with the other one. You positive out to the fuse box, your negative out to the fuse box. I have to look back up what blue and brown mean, because of course normally you're used to red and black, but I already looked this up. I do believe the brown is the ground, but I'm going to reconfirm before I fully wire this, and the blue is the positive, but I need to look it back up. Point is, either way, once I figure that out, I just run these to the positive and negative in the fuse box, and I literally drop this into the jug. Now, I will have to run a piece of tubing up from this side, and then that tubing will connect with this connector, and this will screw into the fitting for the sink. Way less steps, to be quite honest. Way easier, and also this doesn't need any room because it's gonna be in the water jug, which is why I like it. This thing, however, it needs its own amount of space. It needs to be mounted somewhere. It has the positive and negatives. Then you need tubing on one side to go into the jug, tubing on the other side to go to the sink. Then you need a connector, which then needs to connect to the sink. And so there's way more stuff going on with this one that makes it a tad more complicated than this one. So I'm really excited that the universe just gave me an excuse to buy what I kind of wanted to buy in the first place, which was a drop-in water pump. Now, it says that you shouldn't use this for like more than 10 to 15 minutes or something like that, but why would I need to use it for more than that? I don't really use it like a constant pouring water source, so that should be fine. So yeah, I'm looking forward to using this instead of this. So my old switch was this push switch under the sink, and I always kind of hated it after I did it, because I realized the switch needed to be on the countertop. But at that point, I've been working on renovations for a few days, and honestly, I just wanted it over and done with, so I was like, forget it, I'm not moving it. this is my new switch, which has an on-off to it that I'll be installing on the new water pump. I'll be installing it above the sink, not right here, just slightly behind the sink over there. And that way I can access it without opening the door, which became annoying. I kept having to open the door to access this on-off switch for the water pump. And the only way the sink really works is with the water pump on, and I have to turn it off immediately after using it. Like, it doesn't work like a household sink the way it's set up. In fact, the actual faucet switch on the sink is pretty much useless, and that's fine, but I need this on-off switch in an accessible place above the countertop, not under it. So that's going to be a little bit different when I wire things up this time. Alright, so according to my research, brown is going to positive. I know this cable's black, but it actually is tracking in as positive. Blue is a negative, so this line goes all the way to here, which, whoa, can't see it. I'm going to run this through the hole to get it to the fuse box. But as for my positive line, this black wire goes up here to the switch. And then coming back out the switch, you see a red wire, which is going to that hole back there. And I'm going to have to track the black wire through there and past all this stuff against the wall to the back where the fuse box is. So ideally everything's hooked up right and we're ready to turn on the sink. I'm a little bit nervous, especially because of the brown and blue and double checking to see if I did it the right way, but nothing to it but to do it. Alright, let's switch it on. And there we have running water. Excellent. We are back in business. And this one is so much quieter than the other one. The other one, when you turned it on, it was like, whereas this one is just like, bam, water. And it's good to run a little bit of water through the system. This is so much easier. And now that I have my switch set up right by the sink, this is pretty much, if I have this closed when I hit the switch, it's just going to back up the water. And the couple of times I've done that, I've just had a mess underneath. So I always make sure this is open and then I hit my switch and that gets me water. So I've wasted enough water and this thing is working, so I'm pretty much feeling happy. Man, it is hot in Reno. Considering how often I use the Home Depot lot as my shop, I wonder if I could get sponsored by them. But anyway, I've actually removed the curtain and I've pulled the shade up, and it looks like it's actually going to be easier to remove than I thought. And since I'm already in this area because I worked on the sink, I figured, why don't I just try to get this shade in and then I'll work on that side, because that side, I just got so much to pull out before I can get to the window. Alrighty, so now I've installed the black pleated shades behind the kitchen. The problem is these are actually wider than the window, so they can't go all the way down, but it doesn't really matter because they're meeting the top of the countertop. And so it doesn't really bother me. I'm perfectly okay with that, and it means that I can access this window. And like I said, there's nothing to see on the other side. If I really want to get fancy, I could like drop some black back there. But otherwise, this works for me, and it gives me access to the window, and I can even reach down in here and now vent this window if I want. So it's great. So this was a lot of work just to change up something that ultimately sits behind furniture. But what I do like is that the kitchen window is actually now accessible. There's enough of a gap back there when I pull the blinds up that I can even, open the window, vent the little window underneath it. Now this one's probably going to be lost to creation until I totally rebuild the storage area, if I ever do. But even still, this looks like this, which also looks like the blinds behind my bed. So I'm happy I did it, even though it took a lot of work. Also, this is why I don't try to do cabinet making. So I needed to cut down this wall a little bit because of how this blind sits that's different from the old blind. And oh my gosh, these cuts are so ugly and crooked. I did it with, I guess it's called a jigsaw, this thing. I did it with this saw. this saw right here. And oh my goodness, these cuts, man. They're so ugly, but all of this is going to be lost behind furniture for now, so I'm not really sweating it. So one weird thing about this van YouTube is I don't know if you guys have noticed that these two windows are actually not the same tint. This tint is much lighter. Right now I have the new cover on it, so you can't really see into the electrical area. But this one is like super dark. Now mind you, with enough sunlight you can still see through this, but this one's like crystal clear, whereas this one at least has some dark tint on it. So I don't know what was going on with the tinting process, because none of these windows are in balance as far as tint goes. Alright, and so like you see here, they have the exact same thing going on, but on the outside, in any situation, even if you look at some of my older videos, you can see that this one is way darker than this one, which is an amusing thing to deal with. I think at some point I'll just throw limo tint on all of the exterior, all of the not cab area windows, but not going to worry about that right now.